The Washington Commanders trounce the Cardinals in Arizona 42-14. We've got your instant reaction here on Ref the District. Let's go.
Yeah, that's Ref the District. Come on now and join us.
Let's go.
Let's go. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Ref the District's instant reaction analysis breakdown of the Washington Commanders' domination over the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona 42-14. And oh my Lord, whose team is this? Rocking the onesie 3 games in a row. Just want to give you a few stats here before we get rolling on here. Jayden Daniels, another magnificent game despite having his first NFL interception. He was 26 of 30, 233 yards, a touchdown in the air, a touchdown on the ground to go with 8 carries and 47 yards. Brian Robinson, 101 yards off of 21 carries and a touchdown. Jeremy McNichols, Stoner's guy, 2 touchdowns in relief of Austin Eckler. Terry McLaurin, not a number 1 wide receiver, according to Trev. It had 7 catches, 52 yards, a touchdown on 10 targets. Fantastic game. Holding Kyler Murray to 142 yards and only 1 touchdown. 4 sacks. The defense finally getting home against the Arizona Cardinals. Big game here as the Washington Commanders started this game as 3.5 underdogs, according to Bet Online. But you would have known better had you head out there, because they have all the up-to-date stats. If you would have gone that Terry McLaurin anytime touchdown, you are making money over at Bet Online, and that's exactly what you want to do, because they are the most trusted betting platform and source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in the 200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance to week at Winley prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over, play some poker, some blackjack, or one of their 150 slot games. Bet Online, where the game starts here. And gentlemen, I'm losing my mind over here in Oklahoma watching this game. People think I'm absolutely nuts, as I was at the local brewery and running around in my Washington stuff. The kids are running in their Washington stuff, and we get home because the kids need to get to dinner time, and it just continued. It absolutely continued. I felt like this was a close game in the first half. Second half, completely just a different game. Trev, whose team is this?
This is Josh Harris and Adam. This is Adam Peters' team. That's who it is. Just to be, whatever, but he picked most of the players. He's kind of a reason for the roster turnover that we've had. This is Dan Quinn's team. This is Joe Witt's team. This is Josh Harris' team. This is the DC community team. This is Commanders fans' team. That's who that is. It's kind of wild to see. I don't remember it being like this until I know RG3 days, but at that time we were 3-6, and we went on that 6-game win streak. That was nuts. We started out 3-6, but we haven't been 3-1 since 2011, I think I saw. We haven't scored 40 points since 2016. We look like a team that should be on TV every week now.
Yeah, no joke. This is must-see television. Paul asking the question here, when was the last time our offense scored 38 points or more in back-to-back games? I don't necessarily have that one, but Jake Russell did tweet out Washington has scored 30-plus points in consecutive weeks for the first time since week 10 and 11 of 2017. So it's been 7 years since we've seen back-to-back 30-plus games here. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention all the people waiting for us to do this live content here. As Locked On Law, Todd, Nicole, Doug, Trey, we have the Hawk TV, who probably enjoys this name after Hawk Tua there, has gotten into town. Todd, we got Brian, we got Bosky, Trey, we got a bunch of people out there. We appreciate everybody jumping in here with the live chat here. But Stoner, this team is 3-1, sole possession of the NFC East. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but this was one of the things Locked On Law had asked during Ask Nathan on Monday last week, is the NFC East looks a little weak. Can Washington kind of win? And we kind of stumbled through that one. We were like, hey, if things keep going our way, yeah, we can. But this team against Arizona who was favored, who a lot of people thought Arizona, despite being 1-2, was a team that was on the rise because they looked really good, and Washington maybe be a flash in the pan. Things kind of flipped the script here in Arizona.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, everything that went on really since the beginning of last week prior to the Cincinnati game. And there's a lot of things to talk about with this team: the offense, the defense, special teams, coaching, ownership. It's no small point that the ownership was willing to pony up and send this team from Cincinnati to Arizona so that they would stay on the road together for the week plus, so that they could continue to develop together as a team and just kind of get used to being out in Arizona for 4 or 5 days and just get used to the atmosphere. Even though the game's indoors, they were still kind of just in that atmosphere and didn't have to travel the day before. I really like that point that the Harris ownership group, Trev said at the beginning when he was laying down a whole bunch of people that were to give a lot of credit to, and he started with Josh Harris. And I think it does start right there. And of course it filters all the way down, and there's a lot of praise to give all around this team.
Yeah. Lawrence here mentioning, don't forget, they did all of this on a short week. Washington, Monday Night Football, after a big game and a very emotional game against Cincinnati. Jayden Daniels coming out party, big. You figure maybe they give it all. No, they still have some left in the tank here going up against Arizona on a short week. Locked on Law. Jayden Daniels, unfazed, throws a pick, doesn't affect him whatsoever. I think that speaks volumes to the young man. And there was a lot of plays. You're going to go back and watch the All-22 this game. If you have NFL Plus, you're going to be able to do that. And you're going to watch some of these throws, the anticipation, the delivery, the smart decision-making. This is a young man who is learning on the fly and excelling. It is fantastic because Jim asking what the F is going on. This is something we haven't seen. This is not, a lot of people like to point, Trev, to 2012 with RG3. How is this season different? Because it is different than that season with RG3.
Oh, it's different. The hype at the beginning of the year is probably about the same because, we had the Heisman Trophy winner, mobile quarterback coming out of college, ready to lead the team. But like I said earlier, we started that season, I think, 3-6. So the hype was there, but it was still like a little bit of a roller coaster. Then we hit that 6-game winning streak to bring RG3 to life and give him all the love that we did now. But this is different because we're 3-1. It's different from last year. We started at 2-0, went 2-1. Now we're 3-1. We won 3 games in a row. It's a whole new era. I think that's what's different. Then we still have the dark clouds of the ownership, and the coaching staff was question mark all the way across the board, from benching RG3 to putting Kirk Cousins in. Like, that whole situation was just murky. This is nothing murky about this. We've got a crystal clear view of how we want to be as an organization. And like Stoner said, it starts from the top with Josh Harris, trickles down to Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and then the roster. So, yeah, I think that's the difference. Is this? It's just a clean slate this year, and we're starting off on a better foot than I think we've all thought we would start off this year, rather than going through finding some gems in the dark clouds that we used to have in the previous years to get our hype to where it is now today. So it's just wild to me.
Add on top of that, Trev, is when they were 3-6, what did they have to do to go on that winning streak? They had to trick up the offense. They had to start going to that whole read option or run pass option that they had. They had to trick it up to fit Robert's needs, his physical abilities, because he was not able to run an NFL offense. That, to me, is one of the biggest difference between then and now, is that you had a quarterback that you had to trick up the offense, and you knew eventually the league was going to catch up with that. You don't know for sure that the league is going to catch up with what Jayden Daniels is doing, because he's doing everything that you're supposed to do as an NFL quarterback. He's doing everything. And as long as you've got JD5 back there healthy, then every week we're going to go in thinking that we have a shot to win this game. And you didn't necessarily have that in years past, even when you were winning, because you were always unsure of that quarterback position. But we don't have that anymore. We don't have that.
This really is the first time, as Will Diggs here saying JD5 is him. And despite the fact Stoner said that last year against a certain other QB, this time feels legit. Okay. This is, again, as I mentioned, a guy who just continues improving each game. It's not a fluke.
Yep.
It's not
It's
a gimmicky offense. You can see the improvement. He throws a touchdown, unfazed, continues going through there. And as we had Trevor here saying, it's good to see a QB make all the right decisions. It really feels like he hasn't been making bad decisions. It was a bad throw, that interception. It wasn't a bad decision.
Right. That's correct.
It was just a bad throw here. Luis, this team feels different. QB throws a pick, and I'm thinking this game is ours. I felt that way last week against Cincinnati with the long second down. I was like, we're going to convert this. And this week was kind of the same. We threw an interception weeks or years before. This is a team that folds. This is a team that quicksand starts hitting. Something went wrong and it goes different. And I think Dominique has the probably greatest factor here for this is the coaching staff is the most effective difference thus far. Yeah. We had been high on Dan Quinn. Joe Witt Jr., we had a question mark to, and we're wondering when this defense is going to get it together. They hold the Cardinals offense to 14 points. Yeah, and this is an offense that has exploded for 40 plus points this year. Kyler Murray, again, less than 150 yards. James Conner did get 100 yards on the ground off of 18 carries. Fantastic day for him. But because the offense was doing its job, they couldn't rely on Conner being the offensive thing here. You get 4 sacks, you get a turnover. This defense under Joe Witt Jr. is starting to come together here, Cricket. Why is that so big for this team?
Because it's been our Achilles heel it's this entire season so far. Offense has been showing us what it can do for the past 4 weeks, which has progressed. And the defense has kind of been even keel of being trash. And in this game, you start to see, like Stern and I said on Wednesday, we want to see from this game is the defense to jump on the board of the production of the offense and special teams. And they did that this week. Now, granted, again, they came out in the first quarter and allowed that first touchdown. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. It's going to be a long day again. But it was not. We kind of got our head together, got everything figured out, and quickly went down and scored to make the game even. And then our defense didn't let up after that. It's like they get punched in the mouth in the first quarter, then they don't like that way they get punched in the mouth. They come back and they just end up winning the fight. And that's what you want to see. And we saw that this week. We saw Joe Witt putting players in position to make plays. We saw our defense making tackles. Our run defense from the line of scrimmage in the first level is still question mark. Like we said, we gave up 100 on the ground with James Conner under 20 attempts, which is a good day for him. But as a whole, 14 points. We didn't let Kyler Murray be a video game today. I can't believe we had 4 sacks on him. Not having Trey McBride's a huge factor for them, but they still had Marvin Harrison and Dortch and James Conner and that guy Wilson. So shout out to Joe Witt, man. He was starting to get that hot takes coming out a little early.
People were a little down on Joe Witt Jr. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think what they said to us about the defense isn't where it's supposed to be, but it's trending that way. And today is exactly for that. I'm very proud of it.
Stoner, you have a thing about the offenses, right? Where you say if they go down that first drive, it looks good and they score a touchdown, they're going to struggle the rest of the game. And that's what exactly happened. Trev, you mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. That first drive, 9 plays, 65 yards or 56 yards, ends in a touchdown on Marvin Harrison Jr. And I thought immediately, like this is going to be a dogfight. But Stoner, your thing comes to fruition here. The defense holds together and they force punt after punt. They get they just continue doing good things here. Turnover on downs. How important is this defense to the team's success going forward? We know the offense is going to do its thing. I mean, again, they had a punt today. Tress Way had to finally get out there, do his job
once.
But we know the offense going to score points. So how important is this defense that showed up today going forward?
Well, believe it or not, it's not super important because of what the offense is doing. There are going to be games where the offense is going to struggle and you're going to want to count on this defense. But we talked about it Wednesday, Trev, did we not? In the cool down on our live show on Wednesday, we talked about how this defense is actually closer than what everybody is giving them credit for. They are there to make the plays. They were just a step slow or they were just missing tackles. And that didn't happen a lot this game. It did in that first drive. It looked very familiar. But as the game went on, they were in the right spots. They were making plays. The rush defense wasn't great, or the run defense wasn't great, but the pass defense was fantastic. And this is what Washington needs to do. If your defense is not great, be great at one thing. Okay? If you're going to allow a guy to get 100 yards on the ground and you're going to allow them to rush for 180 yards, fine. Well, then stop the pass.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. They let them run a fair amount. Like I said, 181 yards, but through the air, they only managed 115 when you take away the sacks. That'll get it done. And then and you didn't sit there and think that they were putting great pressure on Kyler, but they put enough pressure on him that he was scrambling around. And I don't know why Kyler didn't run more. He just seemed to kind of be back there scrambling around. He never ended up running a whole lot. And that's going to get the job done. You're not going to hold the team to 14 points every week, but they did this week. And they made plays on the defensive end. They sacked him 4 times. They got a fumble. They forced a fumble. That wasn't just a fumble. They forced that. They yanked it out. And Frankie Louisville was everywhere in this game.
He's a menace.
And we have to give them their props when we were all over them for 3 weeks, rightfully so. But with Jonathan Allen's in there for a sack and a tackle for loss and a couple other tackles. Yeah. And Frankie Louisville's everywhere on the field. And Emmanuel Forbes is out there making plays. I never thought I'd say that again for the rest of my life.
He didn't look bad.
It was just a great defensive effort all the way around. Really happy about that.
Speaking of not looking bad, in fact, looking great here is Ted with the super chat.
Nice.
No, in the past, these are the types of games where we get blown out. We are a different team, and Jayden Daniels is him.
100%.
This absolutely felt like one of those games that, again, Washington was going to be let down. Big game Monday night, coming out party. This is usually where, like, hey, something big happened next week that isn't happening, right? We thought that last year with the Bears, right? We went in Thursday Night Football. That was going to be our game where we're going to turn things around and have something good, and it didn't happen. I'm not sure. JG was asking, are the Commanders immune from a letdown game? I'm not sure, JG, but I'll tell you what, this wasn't going to be it. Ted is absolutely right. This was supposed to be the letdown game, and it didn't happen. Washington goes out there, they do the right thing, and they absolutely dominate. Now, the domination, Stoner and Trev talked about the yards per carry, right? We're talking about a very good day on the ground. Washington wins the time of possession, 33 minutes to 26 minutes. Now, despite only having a 7-minute difference, that's a 42-14 score. The efficiency at which Washington was doing it, nearly a full 2 yards more per play, Washington was getting over that team. And specifically, one of those things was the third down efficiency. Washington, 9 of 12 on third down. Arizona, 4 of 11.
Right.
Washington's defense came to play, and that's a big reason why this wasn't a letdown game. Another big shout out here to Ted with a $10 super chat. Appreciate you, Ted, for joining us here on Ref the District's Instant Reaction. Let's continue with this offense. One of the things I would have to say is we tease Cricket, we tease Trev about his Terry McLaurin take, and that he's not a number 1 wide receiver. Back-to-back weeks with the touchdown, a pretty good game from Terry McLaurin. Maybe not like a huge game, not a JJ Jetta game type deal, but a good game from Terry McLaurin. But Trev, what about these other wide receivers that Washington has? Because it seems like Noah Brown, Oz, and Luke McCaffrey all coming out to play for Washington and being good wide receivers. I know Luke only had the 1 catch for 17 yards, but this core of wide receivers who we thought going into the season, after having lost, Jahan Dotson was not good, coming out to play and doing just fine.
I think it's great. It's a wide receiver room by committee. And I think when you have a committee group like that on your football team, good things can happen, like running back by committee, wide receiver back by committee. And that's what we have. Terry is starting to look and be treated more as a wide receiver 1 in the past 2 weeks. He had 10 targets. He had 7 catches for only 52 yards, but he had a touchdown score. But he did have 10 targets. And I don't know how many targets he had last week, but it was like, I think above 5, lower than 10, something like that. So it's trending that way into him being our wide receiver number 1. But it's by committee. Luke had one catch, but it was a huge, crucial catch and a couple yards after the catch that helped. He always seems to find Noah Brown when needed. You know, you kind of sometimes forget that Noah Brown's out there, but then he pops up when it's time, when time matters the most, with like 3 or 4 catches, but they're huge catches, and they're usually for first downs or go ahead and touchdown. So I like it. Yeah, we were bummed by losing Jahan Dotson, but I think that was by name only. We were sucked into what he was doing at Penn State and what he did his rookie year.
First round pick. Yeah, we had a lot of love for the guy.
But then you got a guy like Noah Brown, who's been plagued by injuries from Dallas and Houston, been cut a few times. Bring him here, and he's a solid wide receiver 2/3 in my opinion. So by committee is going great. That's shout out to Cliff Kingsbury too for spreading the ball around to make this wide receiver room beat by committee. Because I do think if we did keep targeting or going to Terry only, we were one-dimensional, and defense can figure that out quick. But if they do double Terry, we got Noah. If they double Noah, we got Luke. And Giambi might have a catch or 2 here, but it's also an important catch or 2 here. So like each wide receiver catch and target is either by script or not, but it means something. It's not just because, whatever. It means something that helps the team. It's benefit for the team. So I'm cool with it so far. And Terry is starting to be treated more like a wide receiver number 1, but I'm not ready to declare that he is one.
Can't win him over, Stoner. We can't win him over.
I'm getting closer, but I'm not there.
I don't know where Trev's been for the last 5 years, but he's acting like this is like his rookie year or something. That he's just maybe he's coming out of nowhere. I just love Trev
turning it's crazy because
he's been on Terry's side up until this season. Now all of a sudden he's just like, nah, fans.
It's hard. It's hard to judge because you had 30,000 different people throwing the ball in the past 5 or 6 years. So it kind of his production gets lost in all that quarterback carousel. But now that we have the guy, in the past 2 weeks, you're seeing the guy is treating the guy like he should. So I'm starting to come around. Yes, JG, I'm coming around, but I'm not there yet.
It's so amazing to watch Jayden Daniels have complete command of this offense. Complete command. With no wristband to look at plays. He gets the play. He's got to know where everybody is supposed to be and what they're going to be doing, right? He's directing traffic, putting guys where they're supposed to be. He knows what the defense is doing. He's throwing guys open. He's throwing on the run. He's throwing deep. He's throwing left. He's throwing right. He's a 5-step drop and just firing it in there. He's doing it with the flick of his wrist. I remember one play where he was in the pocket and he was just sort of looking around, nothing. And John Bates is all the way over on the sidelines. And he just, without striding, just flicks it out there, probably 25 yards
easily
across the field.
Yeah.
Right to him on a
the
line.
Pass interference to Noah Brown was, I think they were at the 34-yard line.
34.
And the pass interference happened. The ball landed at the goal line. And it was a flick. Like it wasn't like the kids I'm watching on Saturday when my kid plays Pee Wee football, where they have to put their whole body in it. Jayden Daniels flick of the ball and it goes 70 yards. Insane.
But he knows, and he knows where everybody is supposed to be, and he knows who's going to be open. And so, do you need, that special wide receiver? That's going to help, obviously. But right now, it doesn't matter if it's Terry or if it's Noah or Luke or what. He doesn't care. Do you think he's thinking about on that play that who that receiver is? He just knows who's going to be open. He knows where they're going to be open, and he delivers the ball on time and accurate. Every single time it's accurate. He's had 6 incompletions in 2 games. 6. Think about that for a second.
That's pretty
6
wild.
Incompletions in 2 games. The worst pass he threw wasn't the interception. That wasn't a great pass. But the worst pass he threw was that incompletion to Noah Brown.
Yes.
If you remember,
yes.
That was a bad pass.
He had Noah wide open and he just overthrew it. Yep.
And I was thinking, well, we're spoiled now because that's the worst pass he's thrown in 3 games.
Yeah.
And that was just a little out pattern I don't even know what you call that pattern, a little out pattern to Noah Brown, and it was over his head. And I'm thinking that's the worst he can do. We're going to get spoiled.
Things are looking good. Anthony, in agreement with you here, Stoner, saying Daniel's command of this offense in his 4th game is amazing. It really is. And I would say that this is, in spite of people calling this a college offense, in spite of some people trying to put the negative on Cliff's offense, saying they're dumbing it down for him and they're trying to make it easy for him. One, that's what they should be doing. for a
Right.
rookie. But 2, he doesn't need it to be dumbed down. You're seeing him go across his progressions and you're seeing him make the right plays time and time again. And he's not the only one. Brian points out more guys made plays than made mistakes. One of the defensive players said something like that in the locker room on the radio broadcast after the game. And that's what this is they're just trying not to make mistakes. Just make more plays than you make mistakes. You make a mistake, it's fine. Move on. Jayden Daniels throws an interception. Terry McLaurin was the intended target for that one. I don't know if it would have gone for a touchdown, as was asked in the comment section. But hey, Jayden Daniels and the team moved past that, and it's fantastic because this is a team we can all get behind, and it's exciting football. It's good football. How about a shout out for the offensive line?
Yeah.
I want to say probably second or third week in a row here that we're talking about this. 0 sacks, by the way. In pass protection, 0 sacks. Jayden Daniels dropped back 30 times. I'm looking forward to looking at the pressures, but I will say this. The times that he was pressured, Jayden Daniels is a masterclass in what to do because he is moving that pocket. He's getting away. He's getting that ball out. He's special.
I know it's scary.
I mean, it's kind of crazy just to see him be so young and seeing him be out there playing like a vet. I mean, and I feel like the coaching staff as a whole did a better job coaching this game too. You didn't see too many blunders. You didn't see any wasted timeouts. We won a challenge. For Dan Quinn's first challenge, we won. You didn't see a lot of super hurried up-tempo offense confusion like you see in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Right. Yeah, he might have gotten the call without huddling up, but it wasn't like in a hurry, wasn't mistakes, wasn't confusion. Everything was gelling. Andrew Wiley said after the game, this is the best time he's had since being a commander. He said the offensive line is having an effing blast up front. And when you hear that from your offensive line, that means nothing but success for your running backs and your quarterbacks and pretty much your whole team. So shout out to the coaching staff, though. It looks like they've gotten better with the confusion mistakes that we had the past few weeks.
Yeah, and that played out at the end of the first half when they got the ball back with only like 34 seconds left and 3 timeouts left, right? They didn't burn unnecessary timeouts, and then they used them properly to move down the field and get into field goal range. And then automatic Austin, who's
crazy,
every
right?
single kick since he's been with Washington,
right?
Nails a 40-some yard field goal. And you go into halftime feeling good, right? We're getting the ball back. We're up 17-7, and you're just feeling good. Those things, the psyche of those things really play into or really factor into how this team plays moving forward. And that's what happened in that second half. You feel good about that because it was smooth and it was confident, and you went down the field and you kicked a field goal and you're feeling good coming out in that second half. And it showed. They went right down the field and scored a touchdown, and then ended up, just blitzing them in the second half.
So I just want to give you the field or the microphone here as Grizzy Straight 100 says, "Hey guys, the gentleman in the middle, Stoner, you finally believe in Washington now because you had a lot of bad comments about them from time to time. Are you happy now? Are you happy, Stoner?" From
Of course I'm happy. I'm extremely happy. I will be ecstatic. My prediction was 7 wins and 10 losses. I'll be ecstatic if it's complete opposite, if it's a 10-7 instead. I'm not one to hold on to things and want to be mad just because I was wrong. I love being wrong when I make predictions like that, or I say that they're not ready. They still have flaws, but we don't need to talk about those flaws right now because they just put in absolute clinic.
Masterclass. Oh, it's so
masterclass of 42-14 on the road. So, but they still have flaws, and they're not going to win every game from here on out, right? We know that they're not going 16-1, right? Well, until we see otherwise.
Until we find out otherwise.
I just want you to know, Nathan, I had to sit here on Wednesday night and convince Stoner to pick us to win. This dude, you would have thought we were playing the Chiefs the way he was so scared to pick us to win. I'm like, don't think too much. It's the Cardinals. Kyler Murray is scary, but come on. But so, hey.
I'll tell you what, though, Trev.
But I did.
I mean, I picked us to win. If you saw our picks graphic, I did pick us to win, but I picked it to be a high scoring game by both teams. I didn't think this defense was going to be good
felt like
enough to
that.
stop anybody. I was just like,
Right.
surely they're going to get 4 touchdowns against this defense,
Yeah.
and we're going to have to score pretty much every time we touch the ball yet again. And that
Yes.
didn't happen. And if I were the rest of the league, I would be worried playing the Washington Commanders now, because if
A little
this
bit.
defense can figure things out, you have to do your darndest to figure out a Washington offense that has not scored less than 20 points 4 weeks in a row. We averaged the last 2 or 3 years less than 20 points a game on a season, and we haven't scored that in 4 games. We scored 20 points each time. And
we're
SGB a little down, saying 6-10. We'll get to that here in a little bit, I'm sure. But that seems like a far-fetched idea now, because this team is beating the teams they're supposed to beat. One of the things I loved from our viewers, and I appreciate everybody jumping on here live as we're giving our instant reaction. One of the things I loved reading about from the live comments last Wednesday to the comments on the game preview on Friday was too many people pushing up Arizona as the team that was going to beat Washington. Okay. Because Arizona, this is the thing I loved hearing about, that people pointing out, Arizona was also a 4-win team last year. Remember, they were in place to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. This wasn't a good team.
Well,
but
Kyler Murray
were treating
wasn't
them. People were treating them as if they were.
Well, Kyler Murray didn't play last year, right?
Sure.
I don't remember how many games he did play, but even in week 1 when Washington beat them, is because they had their 3rd string quarterback, if I remember, when they played Arizona. So that's a big difference in that Kyler Murray wasn't there. But still, you're right. It's still Arizona. When you think about Arizona right now, even after watching the game, who scares you offensively? Who scares you defensively? Nobody really does. Not just because Washington beat you. You know, other than Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. James Conner's a good back, but he doesn't scare you necessarily. And there's nobody else around there that scares you, even defensively. They don't have a guy on the edge who scares you. Budda Baker is an excellent safety, but he doesn't necessarily scare you. So I totally understand how some people might say, hey, Arizona with Kyler Murray is back, but really we shouldn't have been afraid of him. And I listened to Trev, though. I listened to him. He told me to not be afraid to take Washington, and I did. So
way to go, Trev.
Yeah, Trev
way
really
to talk him into it. Way to talk him into it again. Armand, appreciate you there. Telling you, everybody, to like and subscribe. Make sure you also share it with your friends so that way they can join the conversation, as we'll be live here for instant reactions after the games. We're live every Wednesday as well. A little less structure this time. I think it's because we were just so excited about the team. Normally we have a little bit more structure to this instant reaction. One thing that we always like to do with these instant reactions, though, is talk about our go-gos and no-gos, which I got to get a video or a graphic or something for this here to go as well. But let's talk about our go-gos and no-gos. Of course, our go-gos, the people who did well. I'm only going to give you one. You can't cheat, Stoner. You only get one.
Okay.
Only one. Tell me who your go-go is.
Okay, so I'm not going to say Jayden Daniels because that's obvious.
Gimme.
I'm not going to say Josh Harris because I think that played an important role, what he did in flying the team out there and spending the extra money to do that. And there's just so many guys to pretty much look at. And I almost wanted to say Frankie Louvu. I love the way he was flying around the entire day.
More recovery.
I'm going to go with my guy that I told you that when they signed him, I said, this is a guy, right? And that's Allegretti. Allegretti playing left guard is playing lights out football. He is dominating. In this particular game, he dominated the pass rush. I think we'll probably look at it when we look at the PFF, all that. And I think he's going to have an excellent grade.
Sure.
He was mowing guys down and running. He was pulling. I love me some Allegretti, and this was just another game. So I have to go with the offensive line because the offensive line won this game overall because Jayden had no pressure and they ran the ball for over
216 yards.
Offensive line. Last year, all we did was kill this team for the terrible play on the offensive line. And this year they're playing extremely well. And in this game, they were awesome again. Nick Allegretti, he's my go-go.
Yeah, hard to go against the offensive line there. Like you mentioned, 0 sacks, 216 yards on the ground. Fantastic. You can go on any one of the line, but I have a feeling, Trev, your go-go is somewhere else.
Yeah, it is. Locked On Law revealed it, but I'm going to go with Jeremy McNichols. I already had it planned. We got on the podcast, so I'm not copying him. But, I mean, losing Eckler, all three of us thought that's a huge, significant loss to the offensive side of the ball. Even Cliff came out and said it on his press conference after practice this week. That's a huge blow. Then you see them elevate Chris Rodriguez yesterday, I think, right before the game. So it's like, okay, well, what's the running back room going to look like on Sunday, tomorrow? What's going to be like? But he came in and did exactly what Eckler would have done. He looked like a mini version of Eckler. He's breaking tackles, finding small holes, scoring touchdowns. He scored 2 touchdowns. And it goes back to last week on that pass block on the Jayden Daniels miraculous throw to Terry everyone's talking about. He doesn't get as much credit as I thought that he should on that play. He blew up that linebacker that came in blitz. So the past 2 weeks for me has been Jeremy McNichols. He's short, he's small, he's fast. A lot of people thought he'd be in the return game for us, but he hasn't. He's just been that reserve back for us, and he did his job. He did what he was supposed to do. He came in and filled the job of Austin Eckler to a T and contributed to a lot of points on offense. So Jeremy McNichols.
That's fair. You took mine. You and Locked On Law took mine. Offensive line is a great one. There's a couple defensive players you might want to shout out. I kind of wanted to give it to Oz, though, a wide receiver, but he ended up having a penalty. So I'm like, all right, well, let's not go to him. Jeremy Chin, kind of a redo game. Yes, Stoner. I'm doing what I told you you couldn't do. I'm listing a whole bunch of guys I want to name. How about Jonathan Allen? With his first sack and tackle for a loss, he's going to get my go-go, showing up and showing why he's paid the money he's paid to play NFL football on Sundays. That's going to be my go-go. Another go-go here is Ted with his $10 donation here for the first time this season. Our defense has shown a pulse. How do you think that our defense will fare against the Cleveland Browns offense next week? Ted, I'm not going to shorthand you. You paid us $10. We're going to answer this question, but if you want a full in-depth one, you're going to want to tune out on Wednesday. Tune on and Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern. We're going to have Cleveland Browns content creators coming to talk that game with us. Stoner and Trev going to be bringing it for you live, 7:30 Eastern on Wednesday. But to give you a short answer, each of us, one sentence to give Ted here. How will the defense fare against the Cleveland Browns? Start with you, Stoner.
Man, that's hard to I haven't really dove into Cleveland too well, but they have weapons unlike Arizona. So it's going to be interesting to see how they are going to fare against this Cleveland team. We'll see.
All right, more than one sentence.
We're going to get in depth.
We'll get back to one sentence here with Trev. Give me one sentence on how the defense will fare against the Cleveland Browns at home.
Do the same thing you did today against Kyler Murray. I can go into more detail, but that'll come on Wednesday, but do the same thing you did to Kyler Murray next week.
One sentence coming from me. Deshaun Watson is not him. That's all I got to say about that one. So happy. Actually, my other sentence, second sentence, your bonus sentence, Ted, for the $10 super chat donation. So happy Washington did not trade for Deshaun Watson. Thank you. That's it. That's our go-gos here. Let's get to the no-gos because Stoner, you mentioned not everything was perfect. There was definitely a few flaws here. 100-yard rush game from Connor. Still some efficiency coming from that offense. The opposing offenses. There's the interception by Jayden Daniels. Who is your no-go for this game? Hard to pick on a 42-14 victory on the road.
Yeah, I tried. I looked all around. I couldn't find anything. I'm just going to go with the officials for throwing those 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties against Washington on touchdown celebrations, which were, I guess Oz's was not a touchdown, but it was a first down. And all he did was flip the ball in the air. He didn't flip it at anybody.
Yeah, that one felt weird.
Yeah, and then McNichols just kind of did an arrow thing up into the stands. I didn't know that was apparently an unsportsmanlike penalty, but So I'll give it to the officials. And by the way, you take those 2 penalties away, which really weren't warranted. They had 3 penalties for about 15 yards.
Yeah.
That's all they had.
Washington quietly becoming a very disciplined team.
Getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Usually those things are an extension of your coach. Like if you're an undisciplined coach, then you have an undisciplined team. I.e., when you look at a team like Dallas, always has a lot of penalties and everything. You know, it's an undisciplined kind of coaching staff. So it's an extension of the coaching staff. And right now, Washington's coaching staff is doing a great job. Not many penalties, but my no-go is those officials for calling those.
It would have been 3 penalties for 19 yards if my
3
math
for
checks
19.
out.
Yeah.
Trev, your no-go?
My no-go, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but it is a concern that has been a concern
something.
for 4 weeks straight. It's our run defense. Our run defense is not good. James Carter is not a slouch, but he's also not an MVP type back. He's a good back, like Nathan said earlier. Less than 20 attempts, over 100 yards. I don't know why they shied away from him because he was killing us, but I'm glad they did. But our run defense, just from the first level, it's too many holes, too many gaping holes for the running backs to get in the secondary and third level or backfield. So I'm going to go with run defense if I have to find a no-go, which, like Stoner said, was really hard. But
Stoner found it so hard he didn't even go within the team, Trev. He had to go to the referees.
But let me ask you this on that, Trev. Let me ask you this. Would you be okay if they gave up 200 yards rushing every single week as long as you only gave up 120 passing?
Yes and no. I mean, yes and no, but
that's your only choice.
Yeah, that's hard. Yes, if we win the game too, yes.
Right.
But if we allow that on the ground and still do that in the air and find a way to,
but if you take one away, just be good at something. Be good at one of them. If you can't be good at both of them, be good at stopping one of them. And they did that.
The problem I have with this, Stoner, and I'm going to go with TJ here in saying no, is if you allow 180 yards on the ground and only 100, it was 115 after you taking the sacks as far as that's concerned. The problem with that is most often teams who are running the ball that efficiently are winning games, right? So, I mean, if you don't have to pass the ball, then you're usually doing fairly good. It means you're up and you're doing good things. So I would not take that. Yeah. I want a more lively defense and I want something to come together for the team. So,
all right.
Trav, I'm with you. I think that when you're looking at this game, there's really only one complaint to be had, and that's that the rushing defense continues to be a little bit more suspect than what we need. You cannot allow teams to get 181 yards on the ground. This time it works out for Washington because I will say, while the run defense was subpar, the defense overall was holding its own. Being able to stop the team on third downs, being able to get off the field is super important for this team. And so the run defense kind of lackluster, but they bend and then they stopped. Full stop, not broke. Like it's not a bend, don't break thing. They just full stopped. They're only allowing 14 points. So good stuff there on the Go-gos. And also it's good stuff coming here from the chat as well as Angela in with her own super chat. Thanks to Angela for tuning in. Love my team. Let's go. Been a long time since I've been this hyped for the squad. JD5 is him. JD5 early. I said this before. I said this with the draft, before the draft. I said this after the draft. I'm going to just continue saying it. Jayden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year. Okay. He's been my favorite from the go. Fantastic. And he really is him. He's more impressive week in and week out. And I can't believe we have a QB.
Are you ready? Are you ready, Nathan, to take the word rookie out of what you just said?
Ooh.
Are you ready to say Jayden Daniels, offensive player of the year? At least in the conversation? Is he not in the conversation?
4 weeks in, he's in the conversation. I've seen some people get ahead of themselves and MVP talk is starting. let's see how this goes with our team, because it is something. And there's some people like Locked On Law here. It's been 4 games. I'm not jumping the shark yet with predictions, but this has been more fun than I've had as a fan in over 30 years. Kind of piggybacking on that Gibbs old school. This reminds me of the 1991 season. Pretty good season, gents. Pretty good season there. Where you walk down the street wearing your Redskin gear, holding your head up high. EP is going to have to stop me from wearing the onesie as I drop off the kiddo tomorrow at school. She's going to have to stop me from going out the door there in the onesie, because this is exactly the kind of fun and excitement we're having. Alcatone going MVP, MVP, MVP. It's possible he keeps playing like this. He finishes the season healthy, as SGB says, and he, as Armand is saying in the conversation through 4 weeks, absolutely doing a fantastic job there. So are the Washington Commanders, 3-1 on the season. They've got the Cleveland Browns coming up next on October 6th. That is a 1 o'clock Eastern game at home on Fox. We'll be bringing you your instant reaction next week as well. But don't worry, you have tomorrow, Ask Nathan. I'll be posting the graphic. You're going to want to make sure you hit me up on that. I'll get you a short or some information that I can get you on those questions. And then live Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern, of course, here on your favorite platforms, wherever you can hear us. I'm Nathan. That's the Stoner. That is Trev, also known as Cricket. And until next time.
He is him, Trev. He is him.
Be a fan.
Let's go.